Defining moment. They have percept who about the sands in a wad of gripe. There comes a point in every person's life when the noise around them fades, and a single moment demands their full attention. It's not planned, it's not scripted, it just happens. You could be sitting in a crowded room, walking down the street, or staring at your own reflection, and suddenly, everything pauses. In that stillness, something is said, something is shown, something is felt, and it hits deeper than anything before. They have percept who about the sansing bruise from Dunins frenzing recity. This moment doesn't always come with fireworks or applause. More often it arrives quietly, almost unnoticed by everyone else. But for you, it's different. Your heart beats heavier. Your mind stops wandering. The words you hear or the sight you witness feel like they've been waiting for years just to reach you. And in that instant, you realize you can't go back to who you were a second ago. They have percept who about the sands in a wad of gripe. A defining moment forces you to confront the truth about yourself. It holds up a mirror that doesn't care about your excuses or your fears. It shows you what you've been running from, what you've been ignoring, and what you've been pretending not to see. That moment is not polite, it's not gentle, it's honest. And honesty, when it's pure, doesn't just inform you, it changes you. They have percent as again back percent in the gun. Sauce was looking. For some, this moment is sparked by failure, the kind that strips away pride and leaves you with nothing but lessons. For others, it comes from a success so unexpected, it shatters every limitation they thought was permanent. Either way, it shakes the ground beneath your feet. It tells you, in its own way, that the rules you've been living by might not be the real rules at all. They have percept who about the sands in a wad of gripe. You don't get to choose when a defining moment shows up. But when it does, it demands a decision. Will you ignore it and return to your comfort zone? Or will you step into the uncertainty it's calling you toward? That decision will mark the difference between staying the same and becoming someone new. They have percept who about the sands in a wad of gripe. Because a defining moment doesn't just change what you know. It changes what you believe about yourself, about life, and about what's possible. And once you've seen the truth in that moment, no amount of denial can make you unsee it. Thavens of bro not of the broad pace of bros, brother any tas, in the heighted burrow blader. Power of words. They have percept who about the sands in a wad of gripe. Words have the power to build or destroy, to heal or to wound, to inspire or to discourage. A single sentence can lift someone from the edge of giving up or push them closer to it. They are invisible forces, yet they shape the visible outcomes of our lives. What you hear, what you repeat, and what you believe all begin as words. They have percept who about the sands in a wad of gripe. Some words arrive like a whisper, almost too soft to notice, yet they plant a seed in your mind that grows over time. Others strike like thunder, loud and impossible to ignore, shaking you awake from the life you've been living on autopilot. The tone, the timing, the intention all combine to decide whether those words stay with you for a moment or for a lifetime. They have percept who about the sands in a wad of gripe. The power of words lies in their ability to reach beyond the surface. They don't just pass through your ears, they find their way into your thoughts, into your beliefs, into the core of who you think you are. And once they've settled there, they can begin to rewrite the way you see the world without you even realizing it's happening. They have percept who about the sands in a wad of gripe. Some words carry truth so heavy it feels uncomfortable to hear them. They challenge the lies you've told yourself, the limitations you've accepted, and the fears you've chosen to obey. Other words bring comfort, a reminder that you're not alone in your struggle, that someone understands what you're facing and believes you can rise above it. They have percept who about the sands in a wad of gripe. It's not always about the beauty of the language or the perfection of the sentence. Sometimes it's the raw, unpolished truth that hits the hardest. Sometimes it's a single, simple statement that turns doubt into faith, fear into courage, or hesitation into action. They have percept who about the sands in a wad of gripe. The right words, at the right time, can echo in your mind long after they've been spoken. They can replay in moments of weakness, they can guide you in moments of confusion, and they can ignite you in moments when you feel you have nothing left to give. They have percent as again back percent and the Groden is an open. Turning point. They have percept to about the sands in a wad of gripe. A turning point is rarely announced. It doesn't come with a sign telling you that life is about to shift. It's often disguised as an ordinary day, an ordinary conversation, an ordinary choice. But somewhere inside that moment, something tilts, and nothing feels quite the same afterward. They have percept to about the sands in a wad of gripe. It can be sparked by an opportunity you never saw coming, one that forces you to act before you feel ready. Or it can be born from a setback so deep it leaves you staring at the pieces of the life you thought you had under control. Either way, it pushes you into a space where the old way no longer works, and a new way has to be found. They way for greater or cons. A turning point is not just about change, it's about decision. The decision to stop running from what you know is true. The decision to step toward the uncomfortable path because it holds the possibility you've been pretending you don't want. That choice becomes the invisible line between the person you were and the person you're about to become. Be duty as elatin that be disol. Sometimes the shift is slow, creeping in so quietly you don't recognize it until you look back months later and realize you're standing in a completely different place. Other times it's sudden, a sharp break from everything that came before, like slamming a door on a chapter you can never reopen. Be duty as elatin that be disol. The weight of a turning point comes from the fact that it demands you to act differently than you have before. It asks you to leave behind patterns that feel safe but have kept you trapped. It asks you to face uncertainty without any promise of how it will end. And yet, you feel it, that pull that tells you moving forward is the only option. Be all this super one. Every turning point carries a risk. The risk of failing, the risk of losing what you've known, the risk of discovering truths you weren't ready to face. But alongside that risk lives the possibility that this shift will lead you to everything you've been searching for, even if you didn't know how to name it. Be duty as elatin that be disol. Be duty as elatin that be disol. Self-reflection. Be duty as elatin that be disol. Self-reflection is the quiet act of turning the mirror inward, not to check how the world sees you, but to see yourself as you truly are. It's more than thinking about your day or your mistakes. It's an unfiltered conversation with the part of you that can't be lied to. In that space, there are no distractions, no noise, no one to impress. Be duty as elatin that be disol. It's not always comfortable. Looking closely means you'll see the things you've been avoiding, the habits you defend but know are holding you back, the fears you've dressed up as logic, the dreams you've been shrinking to fit inside your comfort zone. These truths don't arrive politely, they sit heavy, demanding to be acknowledged. Be duty as elatin that be disol. Self-reflection is not about punishment, it's about awareness. It's the process of connecting the dots between your choices and your reality, between your beliefs and your results. It's seeing the link between what you say you want and what you actually do every day, and realizing they don't always match. Be duty as elatin that be disol. Sometimes this process reveals strengths you forgot you had, moments you handled better than you thought, values you've held on to even when it was hard, growth that happened quietly while you were too busy surviving to notice. The reflection shows not just the flaws, but the resilience woven into your story. Be duty as elatin that be disol. The hardest part is being honest without letting shame take control. It's admitting that some of the pain you've experienced was shaped by your own decisions, and that some of the limits in your life are self-imposed. This honesty can feel heavy, but it's the only way to truly understand where you stand. Be duty as elatin that be disol. When you strip away the excuses and the stories you tell to make life feel easier, you're left with a clear view of the person you are right now. And in that clarity, you begin to see the gap between who you are and who you're capable of becoming. Be duty as elatin that be disol. Breaking limitations. Be duty as elatin that be disol. Breaking limitations begins with recognizing that most of the walls around you are not made of stone, they're made of belief. They are built from years of being told what you can't do, what you shouldn't try, and what is out of your reach. Over time, you accept those boundaries as if they were part of your nature, forgetting they were placed there by someone else's voice. B duty is zelatine that B de sol. The first crack in those walls comes when you dare to question them. You start asking, who decided this was impossible? You begin to notice how many of your limitations exist only in your mind, reinforced by habits and fears that have gone unchallenged for too long. That questioning is the start of freedom. B duty is zelatine that B de sol. Breaking a limitation isn't about proving everyone wrong. It's about proving yourself right, proving that the vision you have in your head can survive outside of it. It's about pushing into the unknown with the understanding that fear will always be present, but it doesn't get to decide the outcome. B duty is zelatine that B de sol. Some limitations fall quickly, shattered the moment you take a bold step forward. Others resist, holding on with every ounce of strength they have, forcing you to fight through setback after setback. The struggle itself becomes part of the transformation, shaping you into someone stronger than the barrier you're facing. B duty is zelatine that B de sol. Each time you break one limitation, something changes inside you. The impossible becomes possible. The small box you once lived in feels even smaller now, and you realize how much more there is to explore. The victory fuels a hunger to see what other lines you can cross, what other heights you can reach. B duty is zelatine that B de sol. What was once a ceiling starts to feel like a floor, and the space you move in expands beyond anything you imagined when you were still playing by rules that were never truly yours to begin with. Breaking limitations. Unmatable. And by three with a came an investably under by the wear great fence. Breaking limitations begins with recognizing that most of the walls around you are not made of stone, they're made of belief. They are built from years of being told what you can't do, what you shouldn't try, and what is out of your reach. Over time, you accept those boundaries as if they were part of your nature, forgetting they were placed there by someone else's voice. Unmatable. And by three with a came an investably under by the wear great fence. The first crack in those walls comes when you dare to question them. You start asking, who decided this was impossible? You begin to notice how many of your limitations exist only in your mind, reinforced by habits and fears that have gone unchallenged for too long. That questioning is the start of freedom. Unmatable. And by three with a came an investably under by the wear great fence. Breaking a limitation isn't about proving everyone wrong. It's about proving yourself right, proving that the vision you have in your head can survive outside of it. It's about pushing into the unknown with the understanding that fear will always be present, but it doesn't get to decide the outcome. Unmatable. And by three with a came an investably under by the wear great fence. Some limitations fall quickly, shattered the moment you take a bold step forward. Others resist, holding on with every ounce of strength they have, forcing you to fight through setback after setback. The struggle itself becomes part of the transformation, shaping you into someone stronger than the barrier you're facing. Unmatable. And by three with a came an internation is sidewinnable. Each time you break one limitation, something changes inside you. The impossible becomes possible. The small box you once lived in feels even smaller now, and you realize how much more there is to explore. The victory fuels a hunger to see what other lines you can cross, what other heights you can reach. Unmatable. And by three with a came an internation is sidewinnable. What was once a ceiling starts to feel like a floor, and the space you move in expands beyond anything you imagined when you were still playing by rules that were never truly yours to begin with. Action after realization, expanded in 6 paragraphs. Unmatable. And by three with a came an internation is sidewinnable. Realization without action is like a door you've unlocked but never opened. You stand there, knowing there's something different on the other side. But until you step through, nothing in your life changes. That first movement, the decision to act, is where the shift truly begins. Unmatable. And by three with a came an internation is the great matter body. In the salvation, taking action after a realization often feels heavier than the realization itself. The truth can inspire you, but it can also intimidate you. It demands that you stop thinking about someday and start doing something now. That urgency forces you out of the comfort of reflection and into the discomfort of execution. Unmatable. And by three with a came an internation is the great matter body. In the salvation, the first step doesn't have to be perfect. It rarely is. It might be small, messy, and uncertain, but it's still a step forward. Each movement, no matter how awkward, proves to yourself that you're willing to move beyond awareness and into change. That proof becomes fuel. And Matable. And by three with a Cayman and turnation is the great matter body. In the salvation, as you act, resistance will show up. Old habits will try to pull you back. Fears will whisper that you're not ready. And doubt will question why you started at all. These are signs that you're moving into territory where growth happens. The presence of struggle doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're breaking patterns. And Matable. And by three with a Cayman and turnation is the great matter body. In the salvation, with every choice to keep going, you turn realization into reality. What was once an idea in your mind begins to shape your days, your routines, your decisions. Slowly, the gap between what you know and what you do starts to close, and you feel the weight of progress in ways that reflection alone could never give you. And Matable. And by three with a Cayman and turnation is Backtins. Action after realization becomes the bridge between who you were when the truth found you and who you are becoming because you chose to respond to it. And Matable. And by three with a came to the con, and in by other final bill. Ripple effect. And Matable. And by three with a Cayman and turnation is sideoneable. The ripple effect begins the moment a single choice, a single action, or even a single word sends out waves you can't fully predict. What starts small in your hands travels farther than you imagined, touching places and people you may never see. It's a quiet reminder that nothing you do is ever truly isolated. And Matable. And by three with a Cayman and bestably a comrades from the rise with a grive. Sometimes the ripple is immediate. A decision you make today changes the course of tomorrow in ways you can clearly trace. Other times, the waves take longer to reach their destination, moving silently through people, situations, and moments. Until one day, you notice the shift and realize it began with something you set in motion long ago. And Matable. And by three with a Cayman and turnation is sideoneable. The most powerful ripples often come from actions that felt ordinary at the time. A kind word given without expectation, a risk taken despite fear, a boundary set when it was uncomfortable. These moments can spark changes that outgrow the moment itself. And Matable. And by three with a contalos. Ripples don't just affect others. They come back to you. The energy you put into the world, whether it's courage, compassion, or conviction, tends to find its way back in unexpected forms. The impact might return through opportunities, relationships, or lessons that only exist because of that original wave. And Matable. And by three with PM in his part due. Not all ripples are positive. Just as good actions can spread light, careless actions can spread damage. The weight of this truth makes every choice feel more significant because the effect doesn't end where your influence seems to stop. It continues, shaping lives and environments far beyond your reach. But you're living with an awareness of the ripple effect changes the way you approach each moment. You begin to understand that even the smallest decisions have the potential to create outcomes far greater than their size in the moment you make them. But you're living with a new belief. But you're living with a new belief is like walking through a familiar place with a different set of eyes. The streets, the faces, the routines may look the same, but nothing feels the way it used to. The shift is inside you, and it colors everything you see, everything you choose, and everything you allow. Belimbered friend. At first, it can feel uncomfortable. The old belief still tries to whisper in the background, reminding you of the limits you used to accept. Habits built around that belief don't disappear overnight, and every day becomes a choice between falling back into the old pattern or standing firm in the new one. Belimbered friend. Living with a new belief means testing it in real life. It's not just something you think about, it's something you act on. You measure it against challenges, decisions, and relationships to see if it holds. And with every test it survives, your trust in it grows stronger. Beliter. In recrest and places. This change can alter the way people see you. Some will celebrate it, others will question it, and a few may try to pull you back to what's familiar for them. But holding on to your new belief means accepting that not everyone will understand it, and that's part of the cost of growth. Belimbered for cashin. Over time, the belief stops feeling new and starts feeling like the foundation you stand on. It guides your responses without you having to think about it. The moments that once triggered doubt now spark action because your mind no longer moves in the old direction. Bedektibur, bedektibur, bedektibur.